can start. Good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome everyone to our very special February Let's Talk history lesson with Dr. Nunn. This Let's Talk is special indeed because it's Black History Month. It's a time for all Americans, all of us here and all of us in Tompkins County to celebrate achievements of African Americans. Also to recognize the central role of African Americans in history. And I thought long and hard about who I wanted to invite to speak, and it was a no-brainer. Who better to celebrate than our very own gem, our activist, our community organizer and educator, Dr. Nunn. I don't know how many of you personally know her, but this woman, she changes people. She changes people. So I wanted to take a few moments to recognize, honor, and celebrate Dr. Nunn for all she has done for our community and what she represents. Dr. Nunn is a world-renowned speaker and author, and people come from all over the place just to hear her talk. What an honor for us to call her neighbor, colleague, and friend. Now, while I was at Cornell in graduate school, I learned about Dr. Nunn from different professors and different courses in our nonprofit management class. Like, she was literally everywhere before I even met her. And I grew this deep admiration for her even before I met her. And then after I graduated and infused myself into this community, our community, I got to see her in action. And wow, what a joy it has been to see the impact of her work. And now I'm completely obsessed. So, Nunn, I wanted to give you your flowers and say thank you. Thank you for your devotion, your dedication to your work. We see your heart, we embrace your vision, and we honor you. I could read your bio and go on and on and on about what you mean to this community, but I do have some help today. So first, I'm going to share a message from someone special. So if you could just bear with me for 1 second, I'm going to pull up this message. All right, 1 second. All right, let's see, share.
Greetings. So sorry that I can't be with you in person, but I just want to give a spectacular shout out to Dr. Nunn. I just want to say how grateful we at Ithaca College are to have her not only as a member of our Ithaca community, but as a member of our Ithaca faculty.
That's my president.
To work every day, and we are just grateful for having her. Keep us honest. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your conversation. So long.
That was so dope. Thank you.
Absolutely. Did you see it? Did it?
I could hear it. I couldn't see it, but I could hear it.
Oh no. See, these share screens are so tough. Hold on, we're gonna try it again.
Greetings. So sorry that I can't be with you in person, but I just want to give a spectacular shout out to Dr. Nunn. I just want to say how grateful we at Ithaca College are to have her not only as a member of our Ithaca community, but as a member of our Ithaca faculty. She brings her authentic self to work every day, and we are just grateful for having her. Keep us honest. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your conversation. So long.
Did you get to see that?
No, but we could hear it.
You didn't. Oh man! Oh, you had to see that. You had to see the expressions on her face, man. Like she was in it. She was in it. I'm so sorry. There's
I'm
always
honored.
something technical going on, but I'm so sorry. That was a special thing that I wanted to do for you, but we're not going to stop there. We have another special someone that wanted to just give you your flowers, like I said. So I will ask Calamise, where you at? Calamise, if you can take
You
yourself.
know, you take so many liberties with the pronunciation of my name, and most of the time you get it halfway right. But folks just know me as Cal, and that's the way that I kind of represent. So it's all good. Listen, let me just take a couple minutes. Dr. Nia, I love you much. You know, having come to this community over 40 something years ago, right around the time your dear parents and my dear friends came to this community. You know, and I think about the gatherings that we had to build community within the African American community, the family affair, bowling league, and so many other ways that we stayed connected. And Dr. Neal, you know, it was really like when I think about myself and my wife and the Lees and so many other folk, seeing you all grow up was like you all being, you know, our extended family, you know, our children and you and your siblings growing up. And so, matter of fact, I know when you went to Atlanta, to the Atlanta University Center, and my son was at one of those historically Black colleges and universities in that very prestigious complex of colleges and universities. And so the thing about you that just continues to inspire me, and again, I was just wowed by you just a couple of days ago when you came here at Ithaca High School and did two powerful sessions. And I've heard students since then talking about how dynamic your presentation was. And that's just a, you know, just a microcosm of the kinds of ways that you positively impact people in this community. And I referenced growing up a little while ago, and you know, I think about Lee Davis and the other folk who did Young, Gifted, and Black, and I think about that song by Nina Simone where it says, "To be young, gifted, and Black, oh what a lovely, precious dream. Open your heart to what it means. There's a whole world waiting for you." And so just like they were doing that for you all as you were going through elementary school, you continue to do that. You continue to share that message and speak those positive words into their lives, really helping to shape young minds. And so when Nina Simone did that song, I'm sure she was thinking of Dr. Nia and all that you would ultimately become and the difference that you would continue to make in this community. So we're so very proud of you. We love you much. And it's great to see you ascend to a level of leadership, because leadership succession is, you know, it's something that people cannot take for granted. There were, as you'll remember growing up, there were leaders within the community, and you have prepared yourself for such a time as this, and you honor their lives, their work, and on behalf of all of them, thank you so much, and we love you, my friend.
Thank you, Cal. Thank you so much, Cal. All right, now we have Nancy. Nancy, could you take yourself off of mute and talk to us a little bit, Nancy?
Hi, this is Nancy Bariano, and I love you, Nia. And now I'm going to say some things that may or may not make you blush, but hey, it's okay. You can handle it, I am sure. Nia is homegrown. She is an Ithaca and environs gal, but she is so not insular. The world is the place in which she goes out, learns, meets, explores, and then keeps coming back to Ithaca, where she teaches both in an official capacity at Ithaca College and in many unofficial capacities, working with various age groups and sister groups of one kind or another. The thing that I have experienced most, in addition to doing some collaborative work with Dr. Nia, is CUMEP, the Community Unity Music Education Program. She is a child whisperer. She is able, Nina, and I say this having been there and having had our now 21-year-old nephew go there when he was a child, when he came to visit his aunts, myself and Elizabeth Nonis. And he would go to CUMEP, and it has changed his life. He is a white boy who is growing into white adulthood with an understanding of things that he might not have had and certainly would not have experienced in so personal a way if he had not attended CUMEP and met Nia and all of the other people, her dad, and all of the other people who make that program possible. And then the last time he spent part of the summer with us, and maybe it's going to happen again this year, we'll see. But the last time he spent time with us, he was old enough to be a counselor in training. And so at that point, he became Mr. Luke. And I have to say, there was not a young man around who was prouder of that change in t-shirt color than he was. So Nina has an incredible gift. She is multi-talented herself in terms of dance and art and writing, self-created creative things. She does not get slowed down by the timidity of others. And I personally appreciate that kind of energy and drive and commitment to the things that she believes in, many of which I also believe in, but she is a leader. She is a leader in that respect. She is absolutely adored by so many people who work with her as peers and people that she works with who are learning how to have the kinds of leadership skills that they will grow into, the way she has grown into her leadership skills. And so it's an honor and a pleasure to be one of the people asked to introduce Nia. And what I will say, and I do not have this power, and I do not say this lightly, that if I had the power, I would nominate Nia for a MacArthur Genius Grant, because there are very few people that I have encountered in the world, one of them being an author that I worked with, but very few people that I have encountered in the world who display the range of insight and the ability to apply it to real world situations. And so she is a very gifted woman in my point of view, plus very beautiful. And I care deeply for her and her work.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you so much. Heartfelt words from Nancy and from Cal. For everyone that's just coming in, we are right now giving Dr. Nia Nunn her flowers and appreciating her and honoring her for the work that she has done, not only just locally here in Ithaca and Tompkins County, but nationwide, worldwide. Nia, we love you so, so, so much. But last, but certainly not least, we're gonna ask Mama Bear, Shelly Michelle Nunn. Mama Bear, where are you, Mama Bear? Unmute yourself, please.
Trying to unmute. I'm trying to unmute. Okay, now how do you get through this? First of all, I just thank you all for the love and appreciation that you have for my child. You know, gosh, I just think back to giving birth to her, and you know, I just remember her as a child going next door and being the life of the party at 3 years old. She would go and she would dance and, you know, just interact with people. She was just born that way. She's just born who she is. I like to take some credit for this, and I will, but you know, she's incredible. She's just an incredible human being. And the impact when I look, especially come up, when I see children who I know in our school system are not reaching their potential because they're not understood, they're not loved. I see those same kids and even their teachers, even their administrators, when they come to the performance at Come Up, they're shocked. They're like, they can't believe that the children are, one, attentive, paying attention, engaged. And I think that's because of what Nia exudes.
Mhm.
And it changes lives. It changes the trajectory of our children's lives. The one thing I will say about my child is, and I tell this to everybody,
Mhm.
when I have a conversation with her, I'm exhausted because she is all over the place. She's here, there, and it's in the one conversation. When I finished talking to her, I had to go down and take a nap because I'm like, I've been all over the world. She's everywhere doing everything and has so much more incredible potential. Like when I talk to her about the things that she's doing, and it's like, you should put this here, you should do this. I'm always like, you should do it. Everybody needs to see this. So it's so much fun being her mother. and trust me, we have our battles because I instilled in her, that sort of be who you are and don't back down. And that's what was instilled with me. So once in a while we have
That's
we have to
right.
go to separate corners. But no, it's all good. It's just, I'm just so glad that she decided to come back here and live in Ithaca.
I love that. Thank you, Mama Bear. Thank you, Shelly Michelle Nunn, for honoring and celebrating your beautiful daughter. For those that are just coming in, we are wrapping up our celebration piece for Dr. Nia and thanking her for all the work that she has done. We've had some very heartfelt words and even some great memories shared from Nancy Bariano, Cal Walker, and Shelly Michelle Nunn. Thank you all three. And also thank you to President Cornish, had some really great things to say about Dr. Nia. So Dr. Nia, we all talked about how you're not the best at accepting praise, but we just, again, want to give you your flowers and want to celebrate you. So take this moment and just soak it all in, take it all in. Just know that your community loves you, your community supports you, we honor you, and we thank you so much for everything that you've done. So for those that are just coming in, welcome, welcome. This is our Let's Talk with Dr. Nia Nunn. The Community Foundation has a mission to bring people and resources together to build a more equitable Tompkins County by inspiring diverse philanthropy, catalyzing collaborations, and championing inclusion and justice. So that was just our mission that I just read. This mission was recently adjusted to reflect the work that we're doing at the Community Foundation related to DEI. And we started with structural changes, we moved to functional changes, and then to organizational changes. So it's not by accident that Dr. Nia is here. I take very seriously the foundation's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're being very intentional about our programming, events, the language that we use, our communications, how the community views us, social media, I mean, everything. So we've made this declaration and commitment to equity and inclusivity, and we want you to know that we are embedding DEI principles into everything that we do, literally every day in our strategic plan. So give us grace as we try to get this right. So back to our programming, Dr. Nia is going to take us on this journey, a learning journey. As Shelly said, an experience. She takes you worldwide. So we'll learn some very fascinating facts about Ithaca's rich history while deepening our understanding of Black history. We'll get the pleasure of hearing her read an excerpt from her new book, Deep Breath. Then we'll move into some Q&A in the last few minutes together. So, sis, it is all yours. Take us away.
Goodness. First of all, thank you to my soror, my sorority sister, Miss Gloria. It is a joy. I'm so glad you are there. And big thank you to Community Foundations, which has been a great supporter of many of almost all the things that I have going on, from Southside to CMEP to Black Girl Alchemists, all of it. So it's a joy to have this opportunity to share, to present, to connect with a whole lot of familiar faces. Hey, y'all. Yes, but also some new faces on the scene and names as well. So I'm excited to have this time with you. I am going to flip through some slides. I have several, as my mother did a wonderful job of giving heads up to the flavor that you can look forward to. But I'll just try and have a snapshot of a conversation on each, so that there is time for us to breathe together. And so I'll go ahead and I'll get started. And I'll get started by sharing what I like to call my credential collage. And so this is just a representation of not only who I am, but how I was made. And it really serves as like the foundation, the catalyst of what it is that you see going on when you see my name in the community or out in spaces. So today I'm going to talk more explicitly about Ithaca College, Southside, CMEP, and some of my independent work, my LLC work. Nunn PhD LLC is something new, and it's been incredible to kind of build synergy across the various, like I used to say, multiple head wraps. Right now, I am stitching and tying these head wraps together a little bit more explicitly, and it's been transformative. So of course, I'll talk about that. I mentioned CMEP, Southside Community Center, as well as highlighting where I'm coming from, where some of this courage and the privilege to engage in this work comes from. So I, as was mentioned by Mr. Cal Walker, Clark Atlanta University, my stomping grounds, that historically Black college experience coming from Ithaca was significant, as well as Michigan State. Bless all of Michigan State with all of the craziness this past week. But that was an incredible, incredible space and experience working on my PhD. So I highlight a few other entities that are significant in my life: Beverly J. Martin, Black Girl Alchemist, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and my affiliation and work with Black Hands Universal. But you'll hear me today talk more explicitly about Ithaca College next. And I just find it so important and critical. I'm always encouraging young people as they're looking for spaces to work or spaces to commit to study the vision, study the mission. It's something that should be in your back pocket, right? As you're naming the purpose of your work. Anybody has any questions about the work that I'm executing on this campus or even off campus, go right to the vision. It is such a privilege to honor this vision, as I have the responsibility of preparing teachers for the world, teachers, practitioners, psychologists, speech therapists, all of that. And so it's a joy to have this as a foundation, but also just to be able to live it and bring it to life. And honor preparing teachers for this community, even specifically, because when I fall in love with them, we're going to find them a job. I will find something. We will make it happen. We are not losing some of these incredible young people. So it's an honor to be here at Ithaca College, and it's with this foundation that I've had so much of the freedom to be exactly who I am. I have friends, they're like, really, Nia, you're going to stay back home? And I'm like, yes, as long as I can travel the world, then I'm home. Southside Community Center, where I serve as the board president, an absolute honor to be in such a leadership role, but in a collective leadership role. As I honor Siobhan Bunch, I'll highlight her in a moment as well, and so many of the folks that I grew up with. We were raised and nurtured to lead. And, listening to Mr. Walker and my mom, I'm thinking about some of the roots and the details of our childhood, and our togetherness was all so significant. Southside has always been a place that many of us have called home, where we can honor ourselves at a completely different level, a space that honors Blackness very specifically and unapologetically. And as we are nurturing ourselves and learning our journey, we oftentimes say, and y'all can come too, because you think it's absolutely critical that each and every human being in our community studies their relationship with Blackness, where that comes from, and what we're doing with it today. And so it is an honor to be able to execute that in such a space. And I wanted to offer some great photos, but also some history. And I look at the screen and I know that there are a lot of people that actually do know this history, but I'll offer it anyway and encourage folks to dig even deeper. Our History Center has incredible information. There's great stuff online, but I will say that one of my go-to spaces for Southside history has been for many years, Jacqueline Elizabeth Melton Scott. I wear my ancestors, so I got a Mama Scott shirt on today. So she helped to nurture a lot of my knowledge. My parents, my father, of course, but also Dr. Sean Eversley Bradwell, my colleague and friend and neighbor, and he actually wrote a dissertation on Ithaca's history, Ithaca's Black history. And so there's a lot of information from his dissertation that I oftentimes incorporate in tours and things of that nature. But what stands out for me the most that I love to share is that the group of women that gave birth to the idea of Southside Community Center, they called themselves the Frances Harper Women's Club. And for so many years, I used to think that Frances Harper was one of them, but it was cool to learn that she was actually a writer, a poet from the 1800s, and we share a birthday. So I just had to add that, but it's such a joy to just envision a group of Black women coming together, exploring, studying the dynamics of what's going on in the community, but honoring the written word and voice of a Black woman. And that is exactly who we are. That is exactly the legacy that especially the leadership at Southside, it's just so real. And so I wanted to connect us with this image. And also recognizing the Workers' Progress Association and dear First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt's visit to Southside. And I have heard stories. Miss Lucy Brown will tell the story of being, a 5-year-old trying to figure out what was going on and why the adults were so excited about the time frame. So it's just incredible to have learned from our elders about this glorious transition and an entity of a space. And so I love to tell the stories. I love to learn the stories because the truth is there's so much that I don't know. There's so much to learn, and there are actually so many people right here in Ithaca who can help to essentially put together a glorious quilt of the stories of this space. And so please look forward to the Juneteenth celebration where we'll be honoring the history of the festivals at Southside Community Center. So I'm going to transition to talk about COMEP, which was mentioned, the Community Unity Music Education Program, very much dear to my heart, founded and created by my father, Fee Nunn, as well as Dr. Baruch Whitehead, a professor here with me at Ithaca College. It was a program for the summer, but it was also an opportunity to engage young people in instrument lessons at a very young age and for free. My father was assigned, given direction from the late Sandra Washington and Miss Audrey Cooper, who said, oh, no, you're not going to come around here with this talent and not spread it across the world. And he was eager and ready for that, even as an 18, 19-year-old college student here at Ithaca College. He represents what I'm trying to create in so many ways with these young people. Get off the hill, find purpose, find an initiative within the community, and that will guarantee that will give you more purpose on this campus. And so I offer COMEP, where every child, artist, teacher harnesses and spreads joy through culture, creativity, and teaching community. And that's key, teaching community. And I watch it happen with some of our youngest human beings, the things that they learn, the things that they embody, the things that they look for as it relates to establishing a healthy community. They carry it with them everywhere that they go. So it is an honor to take the baton and to run with it, as my father is still absolutely creating and contributing to all that's happening. It's been a joy and a fresh air to continue the legacy of this work. Another thing that I'll be sharing with you is some of the work that I'm doing that Mr. Walker just acknowledged. And I call it radical vulnerability, but here's the reality. Rather than thinking about, oh, I wear these multiple head wraps, hopefully you're seeing and you're hearing the intersection, right? The synergy across my work. And I have found that radical vulnerability is essentially what I call this methodology. It's my strategy, right? The ways in which I can engage an audience in a collective self-study, spending time reflecting on who we are and who we're bringing into spaces, right? And as individuals, but also especially as it relates to our collective identities. So this has been a glorious journey. I'm so grateful for the responses to the work. It looks like teaching, speaking, and workshops, and a number of creative opportunities to connect with folks. Some of you are familiar with my audience. It kind of looks like this. So if there are moments where you feel like you're in third grade, that's just my style. That's just my flavor of enrolling us all. If anything, I invite everyone to bring their child self to the space and to the explorations that I provide. And so it's been a joy to take this work on the road, to travel, to speak. And I feel like ultimately what I'm doing is I'm honoring this homegrown, innovative identity, but throughout the world, like the ways in which I can take this story, this local reality, and translate it into being a world thought leader because of the ways in which I encourage folks throughout the world to reflect on where they grew up, and the locations where they reside. And I emphasize this slide to say that I'm writing a book. Nancy, this is the title. All right, this is what I'm working with, and we'll process, right? But I'm super excited. So I'm on sabbatical next year. I have been here at Ithaca College for 10 years. 10 years at this institution. Next year, I am on sabbatical and I'm writing this book. I established a contract with a publishing company. And so it is, the community is my classroom. I mean, because that's what's happening. From Southside to Comep to all of the variety of spaces, the living laboratory. Where I get to model for my teachers what it looks like and what it feels like to create transformation directly and immediately. And radical vulnerability is the method. Radical vulnerability is the strategy and the way of making it happen. And so who I am is such a significant part of the journey, and the portion of the book that I want to be sharing with you today is just acknowledging that I'm providing a framework for essentially any group of people, groups of people who are establishing a community with one another. Not just for our elementary school classrooms or our college classrooms to do I am poems. Think about the power of the potential power of doing I am poems among adults, right? And spending some time reflecting on where we're from and ultimately who we're bringing into spaces. And so, yay, I'm bringing my little self into the space. Take a moment. Yes, this is the 3-year-old Nia. Some of you have seen this image or these images. Of course, my mother probably is the one that took this image. But what I do as I bring these images out is I really encourage everyone to make a connection with their 3-year-old self. Everyone to take some time to reflect on who we are and how we are made. Like, what are the factors that are contributing to our collective self and our individual self, and it's massive. And so if we're going to go back, if we're going to dig, I've got to share with you some of what Southside looked like in the 1980s. All right. And so who you have here, if you go over, if you're looking at the right and you go in 3, the one with the fingers in her mouth and the side bang, that is me at Girl Scouts. I remember, Mom, I was one of the youngest ones. I think I was even too young to participate, but my mother insisted and offered to help in every way. So I was one of the youngest participants. Same with Young, Gifted, and Black. I was too young to participate in that, but snuck my way in. And then if you look on the left side and go in one, that is Siobhan Bunch. our executive director of Southside Community Center, formerly Siobhan Fort, which many of you may know Marsha Fort, who, and that relationship between Marsha and my mother is still to this day extremely tight. And so it's glorious that we have the relationship that we have, and our mothers have modeled such leadership for us in transformative ways. So I always pull this picture out. Siobhan's like, oh, here she goes. Yes, but the babies love it. So as I'm introducing who I am, I decided that there need to be a slide about my motherhood, and to introduce my children to the space. Some folks are checking in, they see me with children all of the time, and folks are like, wait a minute, who are her children? So these are my 3 boys. My oldest is Eamon, he's 19 years old, one of those adulting, right? A young adult, as well as Rowan. Rowan is my 16-year-old at the high school, and Lachlan is the baby. He's 13 at LACS. And so he's the one that oftentimes people see more regularly, while the other 2 are a little bit more introverted. But I just feel like to give you an opportunity to connect with the home front, those are my children. And to offer a moment to acknowledge my parents, as I do oftentimes. I tell everybody, graduated from Ithaca College, said they wouldn't stay and be townies, but lo and behold, that's exactly what they did. The ultimate, the ultimate. And I'm so grateful for it. Right? Like there are so many issues and so many dynamics in Ithaca, absolutely. But I'm so grateful for this space. I'm so grateful for the resources that I have had access to and the resources that I have been able to create. My mother has always talked about the power of creating privilege. I have a really different conceptualization of this idea of privilege. I was raised in privilege, and rooted in this privilege was actually a love for Blackness, Black love. And so I say, I believe that this nation can only heal from the wounds of racism if we all begin to love Blackness. And by that, I don't mean that we love that which is best within us, but that we're also able to love that which is faltering, which is wounded, which is contradictory and complete. Bell hooks. Love. The moment we choose to love, we begin to move against domination, against oppression. The moment we choose to love, we begin to move towards freedom, to act in ways that liberate ourselves and others. That action is the testimony of love as the practice of freedom. The practice of freedom. I was raised with the privilege of practicing freedom. And so I take a moment to acknowledge and to honor my father very specifically, who just recently received the Diane Sams Award. Yay, let's give it up for Mr. Fee, which is golden and huge and massive for me, as Diane Sams was always an incredible superhero in childhood, and to witness her assertiveness and the transformation that she created. It's a joy that there has been an opportunity to acknowledge the work that my father does in this community. I'm going to flip through a couple colorful slides as I introduce a little bit more about COMEP, where we are and where we're going. So I'm going to sit in on this slide, it's super colorful, plenty to look at, but this is a poster that I created about a week ago for the trustees who came to visit Ithaca College, who were curious to know about the community-oriented efforts coming out of Ithaca College. And so how easy it was to highlight the work of COMEP, but to also tell the story of its origin, its history, acknowledge that Mr. Fee Nunn, a graduate of Ithaca College in 1980, as well as current full professor, Dr. Baruch Whitehead. So just giving them their flowers in every way that I possibly can was central with this experience. In addition, if you look on the right towards the bottom, bottom, there are a number of young people that I've been able to hire this year with a glorious grant. So I want to talk about that. But specifically, there are 2 students that graduated from Ithaca College, Nicole Bethany Onwuka and Cypress Wright. They're 2022 graduates, and I enrolled them in on what was called the Creative Rebuild New York grant that some folks may have had exposure to. We received that, right? So there are 8 people that I am able, COMEP is able to hire through that incredible resource. And it's been transformative because while COMEP is typically a seasonal experience, our 4 weeks in the summer, we've recently started adding winter camp, which is next week. We're performing at the State Theater and Ford Hall here at Ithaca College. But what's beautiful and glorious and new is we have integrated ourselves into the after school program at Southside. So we're there on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday is Word Wednesday. So I'll share a slide with you about that as well. But I wanted to try and give an overview, a visual of this is what COMEP feels like. It looks like this, but it feels like this as well. To give you an update on some of the next steps, we are working on a movie, a COMEP movie to come out in 2024. And so this is the 20th anniversary this summer. We have 20 years of footage, of photos, of interviews, of poetry, and everything. And so we are finally taking the time to work on an actual movie with the support of Rye Farrow, who just completed the Dorothy Cotton piece. So we're super, super excited to be engaged in that work. As I mentioned, this grant is up in 2 years. And so I am in a position of sort of mapping out a business plan about what could it look like to create a residency, right? To be able to continue this work, to offer positions and work for artivists, right? Activists and artists, educators, to be in the COMEP Southside Ithaca family. So exploring that, in addition to exploring additional spaces. It's time for us to occupy additional spaces in Ithaca. I have fantasies, we have fantasies about Black bookstores, a Black press, Black creative worker spaces that can be transformative for this community. But bringing it back to some of the action that's in place, these are some of the results of just being engaged with Southside on a weekly basis. As I mentioned, it is transformative. Keeping the conversations alive, giving us an opportunity to teach and expose babies. And this just sort of happened. They were such busybodies. I was like, we're not going to sit still. We're just going to move. I'm a busybody too. And so suddenly each week that we would be there, we would go somewhere different. And so as part of that, I decided that we could study Kwanzaa over the course of 7 weeks. We don't need Kwanzaa just 7 days. We're going to do 7 weeks of Kwanzaa. So we focused on 7 weeks worth of all of the principles, and associated with all of the principles, we studied a space in Ithaca. We have Black consciousness curriculum, a list of people, as well as books. So you'll see other elements of the curriculum, but I wanted to highlight one of our first trips, which was to St. James, AME Zion Church. And it turns out that there are a whole bunch of our babies that, have grown up in Southside, that have been on that block for many, many years, but hadn't been in the church, hadn't spent time in the church. And so I decided to take the babies on a tour, and forgive me, I call them all my babies, on a tour, similarly to the tour that I give adults, right? Where I bring them to the front of the church. We feel the ground. We talk about it being a space where Harriet Tubman's once walked. And see, these are all the things that Mama Scott, and these are all the things that folks did for us on a regular basis. We had this privilege. And so with that privilege comes a responsibility to share it, to engage our youth so that they take ownership of it as well. I have high expectations for our kindergartners and first graders. I say, you will be a teacher of this work. for sure, even as a young person. So it's been a joy to also introduce them to Dr. Terrence, well, almost doctor. He's finalizing his doctorate at Syracuse University, and that's Terrence King. And so we have this whole song about how we have our very own Reverend Dr. King. And so it's really, really exciting for our young people to embody the beauty of that relationship. What I'm doing right now is just flipping through, for the sake of time, just flipping through some other slides that highlight some of the work that is in place. This first one is really about a research project with preteens and teenagers, but we're operating the performing arts work next week, as well as financial freedom. And financial freedom has been a success. We've been able to pull in a lot of moms, primarily moms from the program, but bringing adults together to talk about money, it's emotional, it's intense. So, we do some breathing exercises, we do some journaling, but how powerful to have this opportunity to come together on a regular basis. We've been inviting people and resources because y'all are going to start hearing me use Juneteenth as a verb. All right, Juneteenth as a verb. Yeah, we need to Juneteenth our financial structures. We have to Juneteenth education. What do I mean? I mean, Juneteenth was all about revealing the truth, right? Revealing the truth of an inequity and the impact on Black people very specifically. Well, we still have a whole lot of things that are in need of being revealed. The truth needs to come out. And some of that is rooted in this financial freedom work with resources. Just to flip through to emphasize some of the Black joy in place. These are some of the children's books wrapped in Word Wednesday. And I bring my students down and the COMEP leaders, and we go all out with these books, even if it's just a quote that could be transformative for their lives. I shout, if you want to have a great day. They shout, you've got to create one. I say, so don't leave the house. And they say, without your crown, right? That's just a way to grow up. That's a way to grow up when you are constantly thinking about what's possible in that realm, and they use it. I hear from teachers, I hear from parents that these experiences are beneficial. Also highlighting a Black consciousness curriculum, the folks that we're teaching that aren't necessarily in their curriculum. So I'll just flip through that and talk about some of the places that we're going as we travel and study and recognize our appreciation for Ithaca. These are some of the places that we have in mind and coming up. I'll just flip through some of the other colorful slides, just emphasizing that this is work that, yes, absolutely happens in February and beyond. This is work, this is the daily work, right? I'm sharing and presenting to you a space, a person, a culture that is honored on a daily basis. In fact, that is the heartbeat of the work, is actually ensuring, especially that our babies, particularly our Black babies, that they love being Black. And that those who witness and observe this love are transformed as well. Recently, I've been doing a lot of work around the Black Lives Matter at School initiative, educating folks about the glorious diversity across us as Black people, as well as the beautiful commonalities that are rooted in ancestral realities. And so this initiative gives an opportunity, as I take advantage of all opportunities that are Black specific, and without apology, encouraging teachers and administrators and even our families and youth to reflect on the color of punishment, to recognize that everybody needs Black teachers. I've been talking about this lately, that yes, Black teachers are beneficial for Black children, but it turns out that everybody needs a Black teacher. Everybody does, that there is something unique in the criticality of our curriculum largely as Black educators, and therefore everybody needs that experience. And then lastly, outside of Black studies, we did some shouting to try and shout all the way down to Florida to make sure that they could hear as well. But finally, I also emphasized to schools, to remove this, not just cops or police officers, but the policing of children, period. And let this last bullet be about authentic relationships that can be established between our teachers and our students and our families and all of that. And as I'm busting a move, my message to the young people has also been, it's time to prepare yourselves to replace us. I tell them we need new grown-ups. We need new grown-ups. I tell them I honor some folk, we've got some great grown-ups here and there, but largely we need new ones. And we need our young people prepared to replace us. And so I've been teaching a lot about Kirby, encouraging young people to watch Kirby Edmonds' TED Talk, right? To spend some time with his words, spend some time with his voice, and the reality that he said, we have all of the resources that we need in Tompkins County to interrupt structural poverty, that it's here. The resources are here. So the question is, what are we doing with these resources? And so there's Kirby, and then there are a long list. I thought this morning, I took a moment to just honor my ancestors and just see who was calling me in. And it just took 2 seconds to just highlight some of the significant people, some people that we've lost more recently, some people we lost long ago. And I have a variety of relationships with everyone who's on the screen. And there are some people missing, absolutely. I think about Gino Bush, and while I didn't know him as well, I witnessed him in action, and I see the results of his work and the power of his work. I had exposure to Beverly J. Martin as a 5th grade girl, but from a distance, watching the magic of what she created in this community when she handpicked Black teachers for us and mentored the teachers, including my father, Denise Lee, Miss Clark Maynard, and good old Eric Lovett, you know, just to take a moment to honor the joy that Eric Lovett brought everywhere that he went. Miss Louise Jones, if you grew up in the early 80s and likely you were babysat on the corner of Plain and Green Street, a great, great majority of us were reared under Miss Jones, and we just recently lost her. I spoke about Diane Sams. I remember being little, and even how I conceptualized her disability was like a superhero. I mean, there was just the way in which she carried herself in addition to the power of her voice that stood out in transformative ways. Mama Scott, I've mentioned, Dr. James Turner, significant role in this community and influence. And then to take a moment to honor Mr. Todd Peterson. Someone who, speak of people positioning folks in leadership, it wasn't all of us, but Todd would pick out those kids. And I remember being really little, and he'd just be like, okay, 3 cartwheels, a round off in a roll, ready, go. And I'd be like, okay. You always wanted to do whatever magical, artistic, anything that Todd Peterson would present your way. So these are some of the giants. These are some of the folks that were so significant in my life and have played such a role. And what I tell people all the time is they have designed blueprints. They left messages, right? They left messages based on what they said, how they carried themselves, what they created in this community. And what they've done is they've situated a blueprint. And so we have access to the blueprint. What are we doing with it? How are we letting ourselves learn? Are we letting ourselves learn? Are we thinking critically about what it is that they've offered? And what are we doing with it? And so this is a part of the new jam that you all will be hearing soon. I'll say, let yourself learn. And you'll say, and don't stay stuck. I'll say, let yourself learn and don't stay stuck. Right? And I say, listen, you say, listen, you say, read, write, teach, let yourself learn and don't stay stuck. Yes. And we say these are keys, the keys of consciousness. So critically analyze and use your keys. So just trying to find glorious, exciting ways to engage people in learning on a regular basis. And so just to honor time, there's just a couple more slides that I will flip to. And then for folks that are able to stay on, if you want to engage in some questioning, I know we're just right about at 1 o'clock, but I will not leave without letting you know how people can be supportive of the entities that I reside in. And so the leadership team at Southside Community Center is incredible. This is Mama Sharon, who I also grew up with. We were in the Wiz together in high school. She was Auntie M. So if you come in Southside, don't be shocked if we're just in the middle of song. Because every once in a while we just bust out in song. But folks may know that Southside has been given a lot of support, or is receiving support with building a kitchen, a commercial kitchen. There are so many human beings that we are feeding on a daily basis with so much love and so much joy. And so we are truly honored to receive the support that we are getting already for the kitchen. But I checked in with our executive director. I said, what is the number? And she gave me the number and she said, well, we need about $150,000 to get exactly what is needed to make this kitchen happen at Southside Community Center. The other explicit, specific ask is for a COMEP movie. So we will be doing some fundraising for a movie with the goal of being able to have the premiere in 2024. And so that's fairly soon. But as I mentioned, not only is it the movie, I think the movie will also has the potential to attract funds for some of the larger ideas that I was talking about in terms of the residency and Black bookstores and creative spaces and all of that. So you'll see that we are seeking support and funding for COMEP this next year. And then finally, feel free to book me. Look me up. I definitely have had a lot of success with just invitations to speak and engage in workshops and coaching, doing a lot of work with school districts, but also work in higher education. I have just recent connection with Wells College and some other spaces. Also open to always traveling the world. So I invite you to take a look at my website, drnianunn.com, and you can reach out to me if you're interested in any of those offers, those resources, as well as buying my book. And so I wanted to close with a piece, and I thought about showing the video, but I also could do something live. So I'm going to check in with my soror, Gloria, based on time and energy. It's 1 o'clock. We can watch the video is about 8 minutes long. So I could also just pass it on to people to check out. If you look up Deep Breath Nia Nunn, then you'll get a chance to watch this video that I'm offering right here. But other than that, this is the poetry book and curriculum that I put together this year. And it's all the pieces, it's so much work that I've been doing since I was born. But it was finally, I was noticing that like my sayings and my shouts and certain calls and responses were making their way all over the place. And I love that, right? In the schools, in the classrooms. Why? Because that's the nature of COMEP. We train our babies to establish community wherever they go, right? We have a thing where we compliment one another. Everyone's supposed to give at least 2 compliments. So at the end, people are able to acknowledge if they received a compliment. So when I heard from a teacher that there was a child that acknowledged after a week that nobody had complimented anybody, I said, yes, we're spreading far and wide. So I'll check in with you, Sora, to get a
Sure.
sense for timing, what you
Sure.
think, and otherwise
Absolutely. Well, if anyone needs to hop off, it is 1 o'clock after the lunch hour. Feel free to do so. But
yeah.
for me personally, I want to see this live.
Okay.
So we'll just take a few minutes, and let's do this live. If
Okay.
you can post the link to your video
Yes.
in the chat, or just put the keywords for people to search.
Yeah.
We'll do a little bit of a live thing, and then maybe do 1 or 2 questions, and then
Sure.
we'll wrap it up. And again, don't feel like you're being disrespectful. If you need to
Gotta
hop off, it's
Understood.
perfectly okay to hop off.
So I'll put in the chat, you can put in Deep Breath Nia Nunn, and that is for my deep breath poem. So since I'm giving you that treat, I'll actually do my do the For My People poem. And I just did this a few minutes ago at a senior breakfast at GIAC, and it was just a blast. I had a really good time engaging with the folks who were there. So I'd love to perform this piece. And I have another performance. It's March 3rd at One World Market. So One World Market from 5 to 8 is where I'll be performing some old, potentially new pieces. So definitely feel free to check me out. They're having an event that evening. So excited. So the piece I'm going to share with you is For My People. I'm always encouraging people to do I am poems and where I'm from poems as a reflection on the individual self, right? And it's the For My People poem that requires everyone to think about the various collective identities, the people that we represent, right? And so it's an opportunity to engage in a conversation with those people, all right? So this piece, For My People. This is for my people, committed to a culture of healing, ongoing spiritual awakenings, truth, and self-discovery. For my people, pressed up early morning rise, deep in pigeon poses, that sexy vinyasa, pyramid savasana release. Inhale, lift up, exhale, twist, go deeper, even if just a sip. For my people indulging in pleasure's delicious touch, glorious taste. For my people loved, unloved, seen, unseen, captured, and released. For my people grounded, resilient, gifted with an abundance of joy. For my people who can entertain themselves, alone time never lonely. Thank you, goddesses. For my people embracing their imperfections, confronting and owning flaws, from stretch marks to perceived to be naughty choices. For my people, the adorkable Black girl, curious, quirky, inquisitive, hungry for learning, teaching, low-key, high-key nerdgasms over and over again. For my people deemed so articulate, both tokenized and despised, feared yet fetishized, a representative, unique, appetizing isolation. This is for my people committed to a culture of healing, ongoing spiritual awakenings, truth, and self-discovery. For my people no longer concerned with proving her worth. For my people no longer demanding a seat at the table or bringing folding chairs. Instead, this is for my people building their own damn tables. For my people who know their value, even if sometimes her behavior says otherwise. For my people overzealous, overachieving, binge eating, innovative ideas and skipping meals. Creative juices overflowing, executive functioning out of whack, answers unknowing. This is for my people committed to a culture of healing, ongoing spiritual awakenings, truth, and self-discovery. For my people ready to confront and release all of the insecurities, the traumas, the fears, the illusions of barriers, no longer to be driven or scared away. For my people who just need a reminder that they are already free, liberated and with a plethora of soul knowledge, nurturing spirituality, release, and let the universe do its thing. For my people discovering their roots, their center, their core. For my people who love to be Black, who love Blackness religiously, rebelliously, effortlessly. African-centered explorations, dual citizenship aspirations remain and never lost. Sankofa bird, ancestors speak. I said ancestors speak. This is for my people who need to just listen. For my people determined to claim their place and their space in the future. For my people ready to boss up, for my people who need to stop playing and glow up, live with intention, age with grace, a deeper beauty and purpose. This is for my people committed to a culture of healing, ongoing spiritual awakenings, truth, and self-discovery. This is for my people. Yeah.
Wow,
Listening. That's fun.
Oh my God, beautifully, beautifully spoken. I have never heard spoken words spoken like that. I mean, there is strength, there is hope, there is love in your words, Nia. Oh my gosh. Your words resonate in our soul. Thank you for engaging with us and taking us on this journey and this story of this fabric of who you are and your quilt. You've given us so much to reflect on. And this work doesn't happen just in February. It happens in February and beyond. So just one question for you. What is our homework? What will you hold us accountable for? What do you want us to do? Everybody on this call, when you see us in the streets, when you see us at a CUMEP event, or when we see you in March, you know, what are you going to ask us?
Well, I invite everyone to set a timer at some point and just write what this experience was like for you. You're listening, what stood out, right? Write the emotions that came up for you as you listened, you know, and as part of that listening journey with reflecting on the work, this work is always an opportunity for each and every one of us to reflect on our relationship with Blackness, some of the history of that. And some of it, I encourage people to go young, go little, and think about some of the journey of what learning and unlearning information can be like. And so infusing that in your written exploration, I think would be transformative. I regret not giving that assignment as you were listening, because I love for people to engage in writing even as they're listening. But that's one major one. And so reflecting on relationship with Blackness, but also balancing both, you know, your individual and collective self, reflecting on who you're bringing into every space that you enter. Yep. And then the last homework assignment is to take, you're going to hear, like I said, Juneteenth, the verb. And so we're going to be unpacking, like really looking at, you know, the ways in which we need to Juneteenth education, the ways in which we need to Juneteenth homelessness, Juneteenth housing. We've got to Juneteenth our financial structures, like tell the truth. Juneteenth is not just some kind of celebration it's about the discovery of the truth of the dehumanizing structures that are in place, because they are still in place in various ways. So we'll Juneteenth those as well.
Let's Juneteenth it. But lastly, you talked about raising funds for CUMEP and for Southside. How can people on this call give to Southside?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a way to donate online on either website, you know, CUMEP.org, but then there's also sspride.org for Southside. And so there's the online version, but just come visit. You know, and there's always
open door
to send. And then if it's making a financial contribution, yes, you can easily do it online or mail a check, but also come visit, come meet Mama Fern, come make a connection with Sharon. And then we especially like to honor folks and acknowledge folks who make a contribution and commitment to the space. So there are a variety of ways to give. And a variety of initiatives to give to. But those are two striking ones that I wanted to offer today, to give heads up that we're being pretty intentional and explicit about making sure this kitchen happens, as well as the CUMEP movie, because I'm working on some video lessons that we'll execute this year, but to really, really compile these 20 years. It's a movie that will not only do we expect will change lives, but it will provide a framework and a model that we believe is truly replicable throughout the country and even spaces throughout the world.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Two very, very important projects. And I encourage you all, as Dr. Nia said, to go and visit. They have an open door policy. The door is really, really heavy when you pull it open, but it's open to all.
It is a heavy door.
It is a heavy door, but thank you all so much. Thanks for hanging in there with us the last 12 minutes. We appreciate and we are thankful for each and every one of you. We honor your time. Thank you again. This recording will be available on our website. We'll post it on social media. If you want to get in touch with Dr. Nia, her website link is in the chat. There's a place where you can contact her. Feel free to do that. feel free to connect with me. If you have any ideas for other speakers or organizations that you'd like to see or hear from,
Yeah.
just reach out to me. My email is also in the chat. I wish you all a fantastic, fantastic long weekend, because I will not be working on Monday.
That's
Hopefully you won't be
it.
working on Monday either.
And Gloria, if I can shout out, you're also welcome. If you for real engage in this written exercise, I would love to see it.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
you all,
Yeah.
anyone who's interested, set your timer. I tell my students, set your timer for 20 minutes and just breathe. Breathe. I take
Breathe
run-on
through the
sentences
exercise.
and everything. So
Yep.
just
Yep.
breathing and writing.
Absolutely. Well, you are all free to exit the building. I appreciate you all for coming in. Thank you so much
Thanks
for
so
joining us
much.
today with Dr. Nia. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Take good care. Bye, everyone. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.